welcome back to the Barrel Talk podcast. This is going to be part 2 of breaking down and grading every team's offseason in the NBA. While you're seeing this, you should already see Western Conference part 1 of this part 2 already on the channel. Got Cole back for the Eastern Conference, kind of the same situation, giving a team a grade, running through and breaking down every team's offseason. If you go into this one, I assume you saw the first one about the Western Conference, so we can kind of just get right into it, because we can go 1 down to 15 because you have the Cavs at 1.
Yep. I'm doing Cleveland. So Cleveland, I gave them a B+. I wanted to give them a little bit higher now that I think about it more, because in their position right now, we'll get into this a lot. Like, the East obviously is weak right now due to injuries with Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton. A lot of those top teams from last year are hurt. So like the Knicks and the Cavs are in a really good spot. And what I think the Cavs did that I liked was they made that Lonzo Ball trade. They traded Isaac Okoro for Lonzo Ball. And then, yes, they lost Ty Jerome, but, I mean, everyone saw that coming. And they picked up Larry Nance Jr., if I'm not mistaken, and he's just a solid guy who I think could replace those Dean Wade minutes that I was not a fan of.
Or even some small ball, so you don't got to play Tristan Thompson.
Right, yeah, exactly. So it's like, I just think in the Cavs position, they could have just stayed put, which I think I like Lonzo. You just don't know if Philly can play. But I think that's still them getting marginally better in the East that already made them better. And then we talked about this in the West one also. Like, I know Donovan Mitchell hasn't gotten to a conference finals yet, but this was their first year of being like overly legit and having a chance of actually going on a run to win the finals. And they lost to the Pacers, but maybe that trial of it not working and you get one more Mobley step that, geez, they prop him up crazy, like in Cleveland. Like they hold him to a really high standard, and I believe in that too. So if you get a little more from him and Donovan does what Donovan does in the playoffs of hitting big shots and kind of turning into that point guard, you get a full year of Darius Garland not dealing with that nagging injury. They just got marginally better, and I think that I think they're going to come out of the East. I'll just go out and say that right now. Like, I don't think I'll change my opinion on that, even if they're sitting at like the 3rd seed in the East this year. I think they are going to come out of the East. I don't think they'll have as dominant of a regular season as they did last year, even in a weaker East and being a better team than they were last year. I don't think they have to. I think they got bigger goals this year, and they're proven, and they don't got to deal with blowing that comeback lead and having Tyrese at game winners on them. They don't got to deal with Jason Tatum in Boston, who took them out the year before. They might have to deal with my boy Giannis, but we don't really got the team to beat them, and they have the guys to guard a Giannis. I think New York Knicks, Cleveland Cavaliers, ECF would be dope, and I got the Cavs coming out of that. I gave them a B+, so I'm talking myself into an A.
I agree. I'm more so talking because I agree with everything you said about the Cavs. I will say, like, in the moment when they lost to the Pacers, you could, if you're a Cavs fan, I'm sure you had a little bit moments of a panic, but then you watch the Pacers go on and beat the Knicks and have 2 crazy comeback games against the Knicks and the guard, and then they take the Oklahoma City Thunder, who was by far and away, I know the Cavs were a 60-win team too, but like by far and away, I don't think they were ever looked at on the same level as OKC in the regular season like that for real. And they took OKC to 7. So, like, yeah, in the moment it probably hurt and stung, but they ran into a team that legit just had one of those runs. Like, it's like I always compare it to like the Miami team that went to the chip. Like, it seemed like any big shot they needed, any timely bucket they got, or timely stop or timely rebound, like the Pacers ended up with it. And like, who knows, they could have been like, could you imagine, like, if you're the Cavs and you're looking at this offseason, like, oh, we lost to the NBA champion Indiana Pacers and they beat OKC in 7 on the road. Yeah. Like, the narratives would have just been a lot crazier. But I think the Cavs are still in a good position. I'm glad they didn't panic because they knew the East is going to get even weaker. I'm interested to see, because a team that I think could match up really well with them is like New York for sure. Philly is like Philly.
You gonna say Philly?
I'm gonna say Philly.
I thought you were gonna say Magic. Who took them 7 2 years ago. But no, Philly's definitely a sleeper team this year. Anyways, keep going.
We'll talk out because I have Philly, so like I'll talk about it there. But like Cavs, good spot. I'm glad they didn't like over exaggerate losing to the Pacers, who now looking at it hindsight like
Right.
was just putting belt to ass to anybody they played this postseason. So nothing to overreact about.
Dang near was
Now
a team of
if it
destiny.
happens,
I
yeah.
feel it though when you were hold up, my internet's tweaking. Am I good? No. Yo, can you hear me? My internet was
No, you're
just
good.
buffering up. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I'll mark it for you so you see it. What up, Sid? Um, as a Bucks fan, before we got over the hump and got the ring, it does hurt when you're like a 1 seed and win all those regular season games and then lose when you don't think you should have. Like when we lost to Toronto or like Miami in the bubble, both years I thought it was the time Giannis was going to come like win that championship. So I definitely know like Cavs fans are really hurt. But like you said, Pacers was a team of destiny. So they didn't panic. They just got marginally better, and that's all they had to do this offseason, especially with the East they're in. So
And kind
I
of they
said B
made that
plus
like
Grizzly, but hey,
they made the like smaller like deadline move in DeAndre Hunter. So, like not,
true.
it was smaller because of the deadline move, but if they made that in the offseason, it would easily be an A because he's somebody that fits them perfectly.
Nope. Full year with him now too, and he can score more with Ty Jerome leaving.
Yeah. The going on to the Celtics, don't really have likes, dislikes, kind of quickly going over the Celtics. Obviously, this is a team that won a chip a year ago. I gave them a grade of a C, more so just looking at their draft. Hugo Gonzalez, like more of a project guy, but they're obviously selling in this gap year, trying to see what they have. What does Anthony Simons give them? Like he could be just a 1-year rental just to get off the Drew contract, and they have no plans, or he could be a deadline move or whatever. Like they're just, if I'm Boston, the only thing I'm gonna say to like Boston fans is like, you're fine. You're going to get Tatum back. We've seen guys come back from the Achilles, kind of comparing it to Kevin Durant. Like, he's younger, too, like, than Kevin Durant was when he got hurt, and Kevin Durant still is hooping to this day. Like, so I'm not panicking if you're a Boston Celtics fan. I would say I'm not leaving a stone unturned at the deadline because of the assets and what you saw Desmond Bane go for. I know Derek White's a fan favorite. I understand he's a really good player for what they want to do. He is older. He's sneakily on the older side, and he's like 31, 32, if I'm not mistaken. He has a big time contract, and you just saw Desmond Bane, yes, younger, more upside as a player, but Derek White's more for competing teams, and he went for 4 first-round picks. You get a desperate Western Conference team at the deadline, I'm pulling the trigger if it's like 3, 4 first-round picks, because now you're looking at a situation where you're going to get Tatum and Brown back, who's your foundation, plus all this draft capital, plus more money in that free agency period next summer to like really go out and make a new team around Tatum and Brown. So like I would leave no stone unturned. I would never really not look into Brown. I never thought they should have ever moved Jaylen Brown. Those talks were stupid to me. But if a team hits you with the most crazy, insane offer for Jaylen Brown, I mean, you gotta at least open your eyes to it. But I mean,
Yeah.
Boston, all I gotta say, don't leave any stone unturned this deadline, because you never know who could hit your phone with desperation.
Yeah, they just got. I mean, their front court just sucks right now, and it is what it is. Like when you have a player the caliber of Jason Tatum, and he's going to be out a whole year. I mean, like it's easy for people to just like shit on what they're going to be this year, and they probably still could be a play-in team, if not a low-level playoff team. But when you have a player of that caliber and he's not playing, like if I'm a Boston fan, I really don't give a fuck about what happens because I know what we are when he's playing. So it's really just a wash, and that's okay. I like that they're like kind of getting antsy though to make moves and try to like retool a little bit and not do it later. Like I liked when they traded for Anthony, just little moves to try to improve. I don't know what they were doing with the Porzingis trade, but I don't know. I just think that right now, if you're a Boston fan, you trust what Brad Stevens is going to do.
Yeah.
And so, I think we could just leave it at that because we'll have a bigger conversation about them a year from now. Mm-hmm. And then that's when stuff gets back serious for them.
Yeah. Then kind of transitioning to New York, I gave it an A. Like more, okay. I like Jordan Clarkson and Gershon Yabusele. I like those pickers just because they needed anything they could get off that bench for real. That could just be, and I think Jordan Clarkson, it sucked that he was in Utah, but he's the kind of player to where like oh, people forgot about Jordan Clarkson. Now he's on a contender in a big market. Like Jordan Clarkson, somebody who
Yeah.
was contender for sixth man of the year. I wouldn't be shocked if he's just giving them 12, 13 off that bench a game. And I'm glad they got him because he's not a Tibbs guy. I can just tell by the way Jordan Clarkson plays, he wouldn't have been a Tibbs guy, and Tibbs would have found a way not to play him. But Mike Brown, having somebody like it's like having when he was with the Kings and he had Malik Monk, he can use Jordan Clarkson in that way for the Knicks. And I'm a sucker for Mike
100%.
Brown. I love Mike Brown. I
Oh,
thought they did him dirty in Sacramento. You can't be a coach that goes to an organization like Sacramento, bring them to the playoffs, a top 3 seed in the Western Conference, which is something like if Sacramento snuck in from the play-in, that would be different. They were a top 3 seed in the West. And then you ran into Steph Curry. And that was it. But you were a young up and coming team. We have already kind of talked about Sacramento and what we thought they could be at that time. But and then you get canned for what? Because you actually had a hurt roster that year and kind of Sabonis didn't really work out the second year, and then you had to trade Fox, and then that was a whole dilemma. And you got canned for that, and now it's just it's interesting. But I think him in New York, if you're gonna change styles, and I never bought the Dan Hurley, Jay Wright, any of the people that they interviewed, and I thought the Knicks were sloppy on that part. If you're gonna fire Tibbs, you better have somebody in the wins. But you're over here interviewing coaches why would Minnesota want to give up Chris Finch to you guys of all people, another contender in the league? That just doesn't work. They were interviewing coaches for contending teams. I'm like, no contending team is doing that when there isn't a problem. I liked Mike Malone, but I think Mike Malone's going to get a different opportunity in a year from now. He's going to probably take that year off and get a better opportunity.
He's good on TV too.
Yeah, so he's going to be fine. But Mike Brown, I think, is from what he did that year in Sacramento. I'm not going to be here and hype it up to where I think he's the guy to take him over the hump because they are a talented team. I think offensively they can take a big time leap because of just this coaching styles. And I think them having more of a bench is going to the Tibbs playing his guys too much argument goes in there kind of as well. I don't know how much I believe in that as well, but I think his style, it's kind of what he had in Sacramento with, I think, just better players. You have a guard that is ball dominant, that can get downhill, finish, do everything De'Aaron Fox could give you. But then you have Cat, who's just this Sabonis on steroids that can play make, maybe not at that level, but can shoot the 3 ball, can space. And then you have 2 defensive wings. Now you have a bench piece. They have a lot going on there, and I really like their offseason. I'm going to give it an A, more so leaning on the fact that I think Mike Brown is going to propel this team offensively and give them a new look and a new feel. Because Tibbs, I'm going to say a take, Tibbs and Doc Rivers are in the same boat to me. They thrive on giving teams a floor. They are floor setters for teams rather than getting a team to the next level, if that makes sense. Because if you give Tom Thibodeau
right now.
Yes, because that's what the Knicks. Yeah, that's what the Knicks were when they had Randall, Quickly, Barrett. They were a team that had some talent, but Tom Thibodeau implemented a floor and gave them a floor. And then you're like, okay, New York's this tough, gritty team. But after the Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby moves and the Karl-Anthony Towns move, this wasn't really a Thibodeau team. They went to the conference finals, but you always saw a cap with this team if they even got to the finals. They are great. I compare them too because they're older coaches who have kind of narratives around them. But if you gave Tom Thibodeau, the Portland Trailblazers right now, they would have such a tough floor. And you'd be like, that's a Thibodeau team. This Knicks team got into the playoffs, and I'm like, this isn't a Thibodeau team. And Mike Brown, this seems like a Mike Brown team with the offense that he can develop over here.
I think that Karl-Anthony Towns in a Mike Brown system is going to be an all-NBA player this year, especially in this weaker East. He's going to be one of the best players in the East. We know who Jalen Brunson is. I could talk about that for a while. There's obviously a joke going around about Cat. I think it's funny. But Karl-Anthony Towns is legitimately a top 5 center in this league, right? He's got to be. Easily. He is an incredible shooter. You don't think of him as a playmaker, but in this system, I know Mike Brown likes to run he likes to run some Princeton stuff where Karl-Anthony Towns is going to have an opportunity to touch the ball a little bit more versus Thibodeau likes to just let his guard cook off a ball screen or in isolation. So this is going to be a really good opportunity for Karl-Anthony Towns to, even step up to a higher level than he already was. I mean, he was incredible this year in the playoffs. And I just think like the Knicks just have such a good roster, and that's not to be forgotten. So when you were able to bring in a new coach, Yabusele, who just is going to plug in and fit right with this identity in New York, and then a guy like Jordan Clarkson to even add on to address the depth issue they have. And A is the only answer for this offseason. And really, if you're a top team in the East and you did anything, I could give you an A.
Yeah, because you have Indiana next.
Yeah, I got Indiana now. I think that a lot of this grade is going to maybe seem like it's because of Tyrese injury, and it kind of is. By the way, Indiana, what a run! What a pleasure to watch that. But your guys' offseason was a D minus. Because ever since that injury happened in the first quarter of Game 7 of the finals, I mean, it has just been rough. The Miles Turner thing was absolutely out of nowhere, especially for it to go to your
Bucks.
rivals, kind of, the Bucks. You know, a team that you might be competing with this year in another playoff series. I could see those two teams maybe. I know the Pacers don't have much, but I still feel like the Pacers will put together a decent season. They just have, I don't know, I think so. We'll see about that. So losing Miles Turner like really, really hurts. He is a probably second best shooting center in the NBA outside of Towns. Probably. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Embiid is. I don't know. Either way, though, they bring in Jay Huff, who to me is actually an underrated player, and then they got James Wiseman too, I want to say. So like they have some big.
They have Isaiah Jackson too, but he was hurt all last year. I want to say, I could be mistaken, they brought him back.
They did. So they have like some centers that they might be like a by committee thing, which to me like you have a like a lower ceiling when you're running center by committee versus just having like a Miles Turner who's a bona fide like starter for you and can get you 15 to 20 in a game and really change a game. Like against the Bucks, he was like a big part of why we were losing these past 2 years. Like he just killed us. Like when you have a Miles Turner out there, you can't play Brook Lopez like we did and drop, and just having a shooting center like that with, you know, good players around him is just OP. He's a seamless fit with Giannis, just like he was a seamless fit with a guy like Tyrese who's really good with the ball in his hands. So that is just going to really hurt them. Obviously, the Tyrese injury is why it hurts them this year. But like just going forward, even when Tyrese gets back, like it's just going to be hard to find another center that high level. Like centers in this league are so top heavy, so it's going to be really hard to like replace that. So I had to give them a D minus because there's just nothing really good that came out of this. One thing they can look forward to though is some of their guys like Jerace Walker or Johnny Furphy getting more opportunity. I really like that they got Cam Jones this year from Marquette. So like that'll be kind of cool. Like now you're going to have some guys playing basketball that maybe when Tyrese comes back, you know, maybe you still got a good team. And I believe in Rick Carlisle. I believe in the Pacers organization. I mean, since I've been watching basketball for the most part, besides the year that I think were pick 6 and got Benedict Mathurin, the Pacers have been a team that wins, maybe not in the playoffs like they did this year and go into finals. They haven't won a ring or anything, but they're a good team. And we'll see what Benedict Mathurin and Andrew Nembhard and Naismith and all these guys can do like without Tyrese, because I think there is still something to be said about the run they went on and still respect these other guys, because as good as Tyrese was, Tyrese is not like this like mega star that was just absolutely carrying this team. Yeah, he was the engine, but there's still good players on this team. But I can't give this offseason much more. Maybe I'll move it up to a D because I do, like you said, I like the Cam Jones pickup.
I think Benedict Mathurin, I wouldn't be shocked if we're at the same time next year looking at him and Jonathan Kuminga in the same light because of the situation he's in. He's another player that's like obviously has the ability to score and get downhill, but there's some things like we've talked about last episode, kind of comparing it to the G League Ignite. It's like, and he went to Zona. He's a college guy. So like I just feel like they're kind of similar. Jonathan Kuminga is just a bigger player, but I feel like they're kind of similar in a way to where like, there's some reason like Rick Carlisle and Steve Kerr are not like mediocre coaches. These are proven coaches, championship level coaches. Like if they don't like you can say what you want as a fan, and like as a fan, like I wanted Jonathan coming out there more, but like maybe there's some stuff behind the scenes of why he wasn't playing. Same with Benedict Mathurin, who kind of is either in the rotation getting 35 minutes a game, or he's out of the rotation, and now he's in a situation where he's kind of playing for a contract at this point. And I wouldn't be shocked if he's like on like getting into like a restricted free agent market, and like they're trying to sign and trade him or something because like maybe his fit isn't there. Like it's just weird because he's somebody that can be with some of the games he's had.
He averaged 17 and had like a 30-point playoff game, but
yeah,
who knows what he looks like without Tyrese? So
right,
and with the second apron stuff, they might be hesitant. This year is a really big year for Benedict Mathurin. You're right,
because it's make or break, and it could without Tyrese Halliburton. I think they're going to be. Because I think the combination of Nembhard and TJ and what Cam Jones can possibly give you right away, I think that's enough to kind of get the engine going. But I think Miles Turner is such a huge loss. Like, if they still have Miles Turner and Siakam, I'd be like, okay, maybe but that center depth, like they're in more of the Celtics route to where I could see them possibly selling maybe a Obi Toppin at the deadline or something of that sort to kind of like give them some more cap space next summer. Like, because if they still have Miles Turner, I'd be like, in the East, I'm like, okay, we can talk because I really like TJ and what he can give you. And I think Nembhard still has a little bit more left development-wise. But, like, man, without Turner, I just think this team takes a big-time step back. Especially you're going from Miles Turner to J Huff, even though J Huff, I think, has some capabilities of Miles Turner. He is not Miles Turner.
Just having a top-end center is just such a luxury. Like, there's such a gap with, like, there's a certain group of these centers, and then there's the next guys, and it's like, I really will look at your team a lot differently if you have one of the guys in that top tier. I don't know the exact number. I'd have to look at all the centers, but like Miles Turner is in that group, right? He's just one of them. So that is just going to be really tough. Like, yeah, I agree. Like, I'll say it one last time. I know I'm talking a lot about Pacers, but like, if you cut Miles Turner, I still believe in this team to be good without Tyrese, just based off that system. Mm-hmm. And just other guys with playmaking ability. It's that Miles Turner was crazy. That was a wild morning for a Bucks fan. That's all I'm gonna say. And we can
get
transition
into that because
I have
the Bucks.
Perfect.
I'm gonna give it. I gave it like C plus B minus because of what they were able to do. The only bad thing I think is just like the Dame thing. So it's basically, you got Miles Turner on kind of like a bargain of a contract. Like you said, centers are kind of dime a dozen. It's either you got kind of a top guy or you're playing it by committee. And Miles Turner is a perfect fitting center. So I'm glad they went out and did that to kind of like keep the Brook Lopez, we want a spacer, rim protector next to Giannis. But it's just like, you're also paying that extra $22 million for him on his price tag because of the Dame stretch. So it's like you're basically paying Miles Turner like 40 something plus whatever it is because of the stretch. But I do like some of the pickups because Miles Turner, obviously, I think that Giannis and Turner alone like is good enough out east, and I've seen Giannis work with less. So I'm like, I think him and Turner are going to be just fine. You brought back pretty much everybody, and then you add Gary Harris, who, say what you want, is just a role player 3-and-D. And then I think Cole Anthony, somebody who I'm just a sucker for, a guard that played in college that can just get a bucket. And he was somebody that I think Orlando, for a team that could never score consistently, always kind of tear jerked him in and out of the lineup most of the time. But for somebody in Milwaukee, who has more free reign now, that can score in bunches and can be a fire starter for you, and next to KPJ, depending on what you think about KPJ, like there's some fire starters over there with them too, as the scoring goes. And if you can just you have Giannis and Miles Turner, who are going to clean up a lot of the defensive flaws on this team with those rim protectors. If they could find a way to get off the Kuzma and get maybe just a better player, it's going to be tough because of his contract and who wants Kuzma. But who knows? If you can get just something better out of Kyle Kuzma, like the Bucks are going to be fine in this Eastern Conference.
More out of him. Fuck.
Man. Like, God, but like the Bucks, the Bucks for what they had, I wouldn't be shocked if they're like more intrigued in like the buyout market. I still think Cole Anthony's good, but I like him more off the bench. Like if they were able to, like, bring back Malcolm Brogdon for a year on a 1-year kind of like recoup his value kind of vibe.
Former Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, like
Former
if you
Rookie of
can
the Year
just
in
get
Milwaukee.
maybe a better guard, push KPJ to the 2, Cole Anthony off your bench. Like, not saying you're like contending level team. Anything can happen when you have a player of Giannis's caliber. Pairing him with Turner and like the system that Doc Rivers can create with them, it's just like it's tough with what they had to deal with. I don't like them stretching. I love bringing back Bobby Portis because I think if you would have lost him and Brook Lopez, fans would have been irate because I know Bobby Portis is a fan favorite over there, and he's like Nas Reed of the Eastern Conference with what he's able to do off the bench. So like they have something over there in Milwaukee, and especially in this down year with no Boston, no Indy, and Indy's been the dire team for them past 2 years. Like without them, who knows? You have Giannis, you have a top 3 player in the world, and you can have a kind of a system. If you can implement a system with these players, I think it could get interesting. But I have to go with C plus. The stretching Dame for 5 is tough. Yeah, it's tough.
Okay. I like everything you just said. My
if
favorite
Kuzma was
thing
just
you
a little
said,
bit
though,
better.
I know. We need a revival year bad. That would
Yes.
that would
Oh
change.
my God.
But that would be huge. Like having a wing revive, like if him as a wing could just be good. Like I don't think he will, but that'd be so good. My favorite thing you just said was that we have like a Nas Reed of the Eastern Conference because okay, I'm not gonna like touch on this too much. I think that he got robbed the 6th man of the year because he had better stats than Nas Reed in every way. But I get it. Nas Reed, just I get it. That they would not this past year, the year before that. Sorry. But like Bobby Portis and Giannis were our only 2 guys left, or are our only 2 guys left from our championship team. And I think John Horst's main like things. Obviously, Pat was there too on our championship team, but we traded Pat to dump some salary, which honestly was a really good move because the guy we traded for, I don't even remember his name. He's not even going to play for us. He's going to play in Europe or somewhere else. Like I think John Horst's main goal was to bring back Bobby, and then to keep Giannis. He did. None of the Bucks people want to get rid of Giannis, even though it may seem like the smart move to get a bunch back and start the rebuild. It's just different when you're a small market and he's done that much for you. You just don't let that go.
Mm-hmm.
You make him ask out. Like that's just what you have to do as a Bucks fan. And with today in sports, how many like sports franchises don't like do things to win for their teams? I can respect us doing everything we can to keep Giannis because of what he's done for the Bucks. And what that had to come at the cost of was stretching Damian Lillard so that we could have a player come in and play this year. Because if we just don't do anything and we don't have Dame this year and we can't get the Miles Turner, then things might be really, really ugly. And then Giannis is probably really definitely gone after that. But getting Miles Turner might have bought us Giannis for a lot longer than just one more year.
For sure.
And another thing I'll say about the Bucks offseason, this is honestly your logic on the Dame stretch for C+, I actually agree with C++ wise. The one thing though, I think that could have pushed us in that B area is the price we got Gary Trent for, the price we got Kevin Porter Jr. for, the price we got Bobby Portis for. And we brought back Ryan Rollins. I know people don't like that, but like when you need a guy who can kind of guard, he's good for that. The price we got Gary Harris for, I know he didn't really have a market anyways. I thought, or at least as a Bucks fan, that Gary Trent and Kevin Porter Jr. were going to be just like needing more money than we could give them. Maybe not Kevin Porter Jr. because we like really, he doesn't have the greatest like off-court look around the league. But I think he's really kind of found a home in Milwaukee and shown that he is a team-first guy. So it was important we got him back. And I thought the Gary Trent signing was way cheaper than what his market was going to be to me. I just think we got really team-friendly deals, and that's why I liked our offseason. I don't really care about our draft pick. It was a late second-round project pick. I kind of would have liked us to take a guy who could maybe play for us because, honestly, right now we just need players, not projects. Chris Livingston had an elite summer league, though, and I think he's still really young and could be a guy who could be like a wing for us. Like if Kuzma's not good, I could see Chris Livingston playing. I thought Tyler Smith was going to be better in the summer league, but I mean, when you're me with no like young talent really compared to other teams, you really take anything you can get from these guys. I don't know. We I think we had a good offseason for what the drama was around Giannis and with Dame's injury. Like it was hell heading into this offseason, and it left. And I feel like I'm heading into the season in a better spot than I thought I would be. But I wanted Kuzma to get moved too. I just think it really wasn't. I think it was more worth it to John Horst to be like, Kuzma, I made that trade for you, and I think that you have a chance of reviving yourself more than I think me trading for one of these guys would be, because I don't think he had any trade value.
There's to kind of close it out on the Bucks, like there's a specific thing that you guys can do that I think gave the Houston Rockets a lot of life in that Golden State series. You guys now have the ability to have so much size and spacing on the court. So like depending on who you play, you have Giannis. So like if you wanted to do we want Giannis just at the helm, at the point, with ball in his hands downhill, you could have a lineup of say it was you could jumbo lineup Giannis at the 1, Trent at the 2, Kuzma at the 3, Portis at the 4, and then you got Miles at the 5, and then you could just have
Miles
so much size.
Yeah,
so you could have so much size and have Giannis just be able to get downhill, and he's grown as a playmaker to where like if they're hooping like and shooting the ball efficient, if you guys can get a good shooting year from a couple guys on your team, it's going to change the outlook of your season for sure.
Like the New York Knicks would not like playing against that jumbo lineup.
No.
With Cat, they're not. That's a team that I think they're awesome, but I think that's a team that we could actually like play a good playoff series with, just because they don't have an answer for Giannis. I don't know if OG is gonna be able. I don't know. I just don't see that. I don't know. I think, like you said, Giannis gives us
the only team in the East that I think would smoke you guys in a series would be Cleveland, because of at Mobley and Allen. And then like
I agree with that.
I gotta see what New York Orlando has a team before I start saying they can compete with like a guy like Giannis. But I can transition into Detroit, number 6. I'm gonna give it a B. This is kind of an easy one because I think they got lucky, kind of bailed out. I don't know how the Malik Beasley situation is going to end up, but I think they got a little bit bailed out because of the season he did have. They were going to be feeling like obligated to bring him back because of the season they just had. And it was going to be a little bit hefty of a price tag for Malik Beasley, somebody I like as a shooter, but shooters can have up and down years. I think a good guy to compare him to is like Kevin Huerter. Like he's kind of been so-so ever since he left the Hawks, but kind of like getting somebody like Duncan Robinson, who I think can play that role perfectly. Maybe not up to the caliber that Malik did last year, but he's somebody that can bring you some shooting. I really like Karis LeVert because I feel like they need a little bit more shot creation outside of Cade. And Karis LeVert, say what you want, can go get a bucket. I like Chaz Lanier in the draft, somebody that can, like he's somebody that can be your like combo one in a pinch, like
that's
when needed.
Take some pressure off of Cade.
Yeah, like you're gonna have Jaden Ivey back. Chaz Lanier, I expect to play. Because Chaz Lanier is somebody that like should be playing.
You think Chaz Lanier's in the rotation?
Shit, I take him in Golden State right now.
You can shoot it like that, you might be.
Yeah, like they just need a little bit more shooting. I'm glad they didn't, because they can still compete with this team next year in the East. I expect them to be a little bit more active at the deadline because I was always somebody that's like, if you can, because they have tradable contracts. So I'm like, if you could trade Tobias and go, like, I was always like, if you could end up with like Brandon Ingram, like, because he was like a little bit less than Zach LaVine's price tag. But I was like, I don't know how the fit with Cade would work. I'm glad they've stayed pat and they've been able to like be this good while staying pat. And Cade's really like progressing. But interesting year because their team, like, they need to figure out what their direction and how far they want to go in with this core, because their team, like, if they stay pat for too long, they could end up being their ass back in the plan because Boston's coming in a year. I wouldn't be shocked if the Pacers are right back in a year. Like, God forbid Philly ever got good. Like, the Cavs aren't going anywhere. The Knicks aren't going anywhere. Like, Bucks are still going to be around as long as Giannis. The Hawks in Orlando are like, I would take over the Pistons right now. So, like, after this offseason. So, So like I think they're a good spot, but I'm like, depending on what Ivy looks like, I think
Yeah.
you're looking at the deadline like we might need something a little bit more to kind of take us to that, because you almost beat the Knicks. You took them 6 in the first round, but it's just like even they like they would have got Pistons would have got smoked by Boston. Pistons aren't winning those comeback games like the Knicks were. Like they just didn't have enough scoring.
No.
So like I think the Pistons are in a good spot for next year, but if I'm at the deadline or next year in free agency, I know they're going to have a little bit of cap because of how their contracts are worked out. I'm looking at all right, it might be time to get Cade, maybe that real for sure number 2, because like you're like Boston and all these teams, like they're going to be back in a year. Like I know it's a gap year for those 2 teams, but Boston and Indiana, I feel like if they were healthy going into next year after this year, they would have been the favorites out east right now, like with how last year turned out. If they didn't have the injuries they do, like, so I think Detroit good position, but they might start looking to improve this roster in a bigger way for sure.
Karis
I don't know who
LeVert
that
being an
player is,
addition.
but I don't know.
Right. We'll see. The landscape's going to change at the deadline, but the greatest addition for the Pistons this offseason was Jaden Ivey being back healthy.
Yeah.
Coming into this next year, because if he can like take at least a leap to be like maybe a low 20s guy that can be that like scorer, you got Jalen Duren, you got a star as your POA defender. Tobias just played well. We know what Cade is. Cade's going to be that engine. Now, if Ivy at the 2 can be like, you know, that secondary option as a scorer, and then you got Karis coming off the bench doing what he does, then this team is going to be taken really serious in any playoff series, because we already have seen they're going to be able to compete against like top end teams. Even if somehow they're like a 7-8 seed and they got to play Cleveland, I think Cleveland easily beats them. But Detroit has they have their guy with Cade. They got someone everywhere, especially if Ivy can be that good number 2. So that's really what it's going to be. Like, if you'll know at the deadline if he is going to be or not. Obviously, in the playoffs, it changes. Are you going to be a playoff riser? Are you going to be a dropper? But, like, we'll know at the deadline if Ivy is going to take that jump. And that's a little unfair to him because he's coming off an injury. But that really decides, because, I hate to be this guy, trying to say, oh, my gosh, it's all about right now. But in the East, it's like we haven't seen this before where, it's
there's a window for a lot more teams now.
I know. Barry, you can get past the Cavs, but you got to try right now, because Tatum is hurt and Giannis has a bad roster, and we don't know what Embiid is going to be. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, Pistons had a solid offseason. Is Orlando next?
It's the Orlando 7. Yeah, so you would have been.
Orlando's an A+. I know they gave up the 4 first-round picks, but you don't even have to watch NBA basketball to know that team couldn't shoot. They needed shooting so bad, and they addressed it in a big way by getting Desmond Bane, who is one of the best shooters in the league and has shown without John Morant he can put up those crazy amounts of numbers and really be create for himself. He's not just a catch-and-shoot guy, and he's not even going to need to have the ball in his hands that much because of Paolo and Franz being the players that they are. Paolo Banchero, by the way, needs to be respected more as he is unbelievable.
You don't even know. I said a take before you were in the NBA chat like a year ago, and it might be crazy now. You're gonna say it's crazy. I know.
I bet I made the same take if it has anything to do with Victor.
I said it's crazy. Crazy. It was like a couple years ago. I was like, right when Vic got drafted, I was like, I'm taking Paolo Banchero to build my franchise around over Vic. And I still stand on it in the chat to this day.
I've said that too. But I went back on it because of Victor's progression being this fast. But I said my whole thing about it was that y'all act. I know Victor's a better prospect, but y'all act like we didn't just get an elite prospect the year before Apollo, and then he's stood on business back-to-back years in the playoffs. No spacing. He's taking Cleveland to 7, averaging 27. This year against Boston, still no spacing. I'm averaging 30. I know he lost these series, but it's fucking year 2 and 3. Paolo Banchero is seriously one of them ones. And when you look at his frame, it can only remind you of a Jason Tatum or LeBron James archetype player that you can count on to be your franchise guy and take you deep into a playoff series and eventually win a finals. Paulo Banchero is that good. He will be the number one option on an NBA championship team, and he will do that in Orlando one day. And I am sure of that.
And then like
I am.
they got Tyus Jones too. So
What a
they kind
pickup.
of they revamped that point guard position because Desmond Bane can play the one in the pinch. But I think their lineup is going to be I think their best lineup is going Suggs at the one, him and Bane kind of splitting that point guard role, and then you go Bane at the 2, Franz at the 3, Paulo at the 4. Center is you have Goga, Wendell Carter, who did have a down year last year, Mo Wagner, who I really think they were missing because he is somebody that can get after
Mo
it.
at the 5 with that lineup.
Because he's coming off ACL. He tore it early last year, but he should be back. And they brought him back on a 1 year. So I'm not mad at that. And then because they could just defensively is what impresses me because they could just go on these lineups, and Desmond Bane isn't a poor defender at all. I'm glad they went the route of getting somebody like Desmond Bane and kind of overpay, if you will. You got to give to get in this league. Then going the Simons route, who isn't a good defender, can give you maybe more pop offensively than Desmond Bane because Anthony Simons can just score at will. But Desmond Bane isn't a poor defender like Simons is. So it doesn't hinder your roster and what you want to do.
And Desmond Bane is used to not having the ball in his hands, and Anthony Simons, he would be a great spot up shooter as well. But the ball is going to be in Paulo and Franz's hands so much. You needed a guy like Bane who fits. He has played that way with Ja on his team, with Jaren getting touches, and then you get Jace Richardson in the draft, and what's the Penda guy? I've seen some I'd seen some film and people talking about him before the draft. I thought that was also a really good pick. I think they got him second pick of the second round, but Jace Richardson
One thing
was
I've
such
heard,
a good
he's an
pick
elite
too.
defender. He is
so he just fits into that culture. Yeah. So he just fits into what they want to do. And then Jace, I'll be honest, I wasn't overly high on Jace from Michigan State. I thought he was a good college player, especially as a freshman. But him going to Orlando makes me higher on him. There was a lot of teams that I wasn't going to get too hyped about that. He goes anywhere else, I don't think you're calling that team a winner of the draft. But the fact he went to Orlando, that made them winners of the draft. And so it's just a perfect, seamless fit. And he's just not going to have any pressure either. There was times where people looked at him as a lottery prospect, and sometimes those guys get asked to do a lot. You put big body Franz and Banchero out there, and then let him just be able to move off the ball and play freely and knock down shots. Jet Howard's not about to step up any day soon hitting shots. And what are they going to do with Anthony Black? I'm really interested in that. I think he's a legit starter, but I just don't think he's going to be that for them. So maybe that's a good problem to have. But
I got a take about it, off the top. It's he's going to be that Dyson Daniels. Kind of how Dyson Daniels kind of got lost in the shuffle over there in New Orleans. Ooh. Knew he could play. Two different styles of players, but Anthony Black's more of a guard wants the ball in his hands, but has the size and isn't a bad defender. He's somebody that I could see randomly getting traded at the deadline for a more winning piece, better fitting piece. And then he's going to go to this other team and just be oh shit, maybe not up to Dyson Daniels went deep boy. Maybe not up to that level, but he's going to be a young player that got lost in the shuffle a little bit. And then all of a sudden went to the other team, got more of a run, and was Anthony Black's really solid.
What if the Bucks were able to make a move for Anthony Black?
That'd be fire.
Start for us. That's the starting point guard for the Bucks. I know we got Cole, and I like Cole, but imagine we were able to find a way to get Anthony Black to be our starting point guard without losing Miles, Bobby, or Giannis. I would have been moved.
Yeah.
But you're right. He's going to find his way eventually. Orlando might just not be the place for him, which is weird because it seems like such a good place for a young guard that can guard and has shooting upside. It just seems like a good place for anyone right now to be in Orlando. Something's just not clicking for Anthony Black there. So I think that Dyson Daniels comp is actually a really good one. I don't think he'll ever get to that decoy level. Anthony Black can guard. I'm not comparing him to Dyson though.
It's just he's a young player that needs more opportunity for sure. I just don't know if it's in Orlando because they brought in Tyus, who's proven one of the best guys. It's not in Orlando. But going on to a team I'm going to be debating pretty much until the season starts. Because I've just a Paolo Banchero fan, but I'm also like somebody who was very high on Trae Young. Me and my dad actually got into arguments back in the day when Trae Young was coming out. I was like, Trae Young's going to be for real. Trae Young's going to be like a top end guard in the league for sure. And I think the narratives around Trae Young, because we were talking about the Atlanta Hawks now, who I have to give an A plus. Them in Orlando, it's like their GMs were watching the Tatum and Halliburton injuries, and they were like, we're acting now. We're acting now, because both of those teams made two moves. And if you didn't watch a lot of the Atlanta Hawks Cavs games, the Atlanta Hawks, for some reason, it's kind of like comparing it to Dallas and OKC. Maybe not to that level because they won a playoff series against them, but like there's something about Trae Young in that pick and roll when it's like the Cavs were like, it's a tough matchup with how good Trae Young is. I give it an A+. Love getting KP for basically scraps. I know KP isn't the most reliable, healthy guy in the world, but that's why you also have Double O to kind of be that guy behind KP. You can play with KP, kind of do some of the bigger stuff that with Al and KP. I know Double O isn't the best spacer right now, but like they can play together because KP can space. Asa Newell, I thought was a steal. I had him in all of my mocks going higher. You're getting now your center room is like KP. If he goes down, now you have this athletic freak that can just play above the rim with Trae Young, which I really like. Then you still have Dyson Daniels, but the defense that they have built on the perimeter around Trae Young, with now you have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, you have Dyson Daniels. So those two just alone on the perimeter, we're not even talking about like they don't have the number 1 overall pick in Rishad Shea, who can just do a little bit of everything. He's a Swiss Army knife kind of guy.
So good.
And then you have Jalen Johnson, who, if he doesn't get hurt, their season last year looks a lot different, in my opinion, because he was hooping before the injury. So now you have one of the deeper teams in the league, a defensive identity, a great coach in Quinn Snyder, who's been a proven winner before. Like, this is the best team Trae Young's had. It's not even comparable to the team that they went to the Eastern Conference Finals with. And they were kind of like on the team of destiny run when they beat the Sixers that year anyways. But like they have a squad like in Atlanta, like a real deal unit. The only thing I think they're lacking, that I thought that they were lacking before they picked him to kill, was maybe like a backup guard. Because if Trae Young isn't in the game, who's
it's not
creating?
Gonna be Kobe Buffkin, bro.
No, it's not. So
not with how good this team is.
No, because now you have Jalen Johnson who can play that point forward, same with Rishad Shea. So I'm like, man, now you just if KP can give you
Dyson too.
Yes, like God, if KP can give them a solid 55 games of good production, and it's more so the moments KP has in the playoffs. I know everybody remembers that game 1 against Dallas in the finals where like he came out in the first quarter and was just electric. Like if he can just if KP is healthy, he's the X factor for this team. He gives them a whole completely different outlook because he's somebody that can really give you 15 to 20 along with everything they have. You're looking at, I'm going to say it might be a sleeper. It might be a little overshot, but I think nobody talks about the numbers he could put up. And I don't know if they'd ever really put him in this conversation because you have Nikola Jokic, SGAs, and Giannis, and like, okay, so he could easily win 60-plus games again. I think Trae Young's a sleeper for MVP. They might not win enough games,
100%.
but he could easily average 27 and like 12 with how much scoring he has on this team and how everybody can grow. I don't know if because you got, like I said, you got guys like Jokic who can get it every year. Like Giannis can have a bounce back.
Efficient enough to get 27 a game with this many good players around him, though. Like I know his impact will be elite.
Assist numbers.
I know. I just don't know. Like, yeah, he could run up a 15 assist season. I think if we can get an efficient Trae Young season, he could be first team All NBA for sure. And then obviously that puts you MVP conversations if they're winning a lot of games. The only thing with Trae Young ever is his efficiency. Like, is all these good players just going to make him become have a Tyrese Halliburton type of season? Or is this going to take pressure off of him and let him be, like you said, that 27, 28 points per game type of guy that he's shown that he's good enough to be?
Because this is the most talent he's ever played with. Yeah, this is the most talent he's ever played with. Because he's also another...
Dudes like him make a mess with that. Dudes like him make a mess when they play with good players. Like, they go crazy when they play with good players.
I think he's... I could be mistaken if I'm getting who's been on this team with Trae Young wrong. But I think he's the only other guy not named Nikola Jokic that's like looked at as a high-end guy in this league that hasn't never played with an all-star.
Ooh.
Now you have KP, who's been an all-star, but I don't think he's
Was
ever played
John
with a
Collins
guy.
never an all-star? I
Nah.
don't think so. Who else has he played with on his team? Jalen Johnson will be an all-star this year, but Kristaps has been. But you're right. This is the first year of it. I'm trying to think of all these teams. Yeah, I
Clint
think
Capella
you're right.
never.
Because when he first went there, they were kind of ass, and then he just turned them in. It's just like, so Trae Young is just going to lead teams to top offenses every year. Like if you have
Yeah.
Trae Young, you're just going to be a top offense.
So yeah,
I think
that's my mindset. I'm high on the Hawks in Orlando. I just don't know which team I'm gonna like pick till I'm like, all right, this is like my team I'm kind of rooting for out east because I like both of these teams.
I'm not going to say everything you just said because they made so many moves, and I could, agree. I do agree with everything you said. The only thing I'll say is a healthy Jalen Johnson is one of their players in basketball. I'm not saying like top 10, nothing like that, but he has a serious chance if they win a lot of games to be like in discussions for that third team All NBA. Because he seriously is the guy who's going to put up 20 something a game. He's one of the best rebounders at his position. And like, he's just that good. So all I'm gonna say, because I agree with everything you said, they made a ton of good moves. They like so many good moves. Like the Hawks are just simply fucking bad.
Yeah, and then if Ricochet turns into anything crazy, I know he's good right now. If he
Have a
turns into
number
anything
one pick
crazy,
on their team.
yeah,
Like they're stacked. People aren't even talking about the fact that a number one pick, who arguably could have won Rookie of the Year, is going into year 2 now, and he's a 6'10" fucking Klay Thompson. All respect to Klay Thompson. I like still. He is a 6'10" sniper.
I know what you're trying to say.
Bro, they are really stacked.
They're legit. They're legit. I actually have the next 3. Just because I can get through these 3 kind of quick, or these. Yeah, I had the Hawks
Sounds good.
on my second of the 3. So I have Chicago. I gave him a D. I have no idea what Chicago's doing for the resources that Chicago has and how big of a market they have, and I feel like basketball is just. I know the Lakers discourse can kind of get a bit much, but I think basketball in the NBA is just better when the big markets have good teams. Like when the Knicks are hooping and the Lakers are hooping, both LA teams really. And if Chicago's like that only other big market that just cannot get it together, cannot get it figured out. And like I like Matas. Do I think Matas can be like their franchise guy? I don't know. I don't agree too much with them paying Josh Giddey a ton of money because a lot of the production he was giving was towards the back half of the year when teams were either clinched in the playoffs for the East or like didn't care or was tanking. Like, not gonna say he was putting up empty stats, but like it's just like Josh Giddey, like OKC gave him away. Like to you, like are you gonna off of a kind of good back half of the year give him over $100 million? And then you still have Kobe White. What are you doing with him? Like you still have Vucevic for some reason on your roster. What are you doing with him? They're the Chicago Bulls. If you have followed the NBA for the past 5-6 years, post DeMar Lonzo era and that good year they did have before the Lonzo injury with Caruso, like the Bulls getting their own way too much. I think Lonzo for Okoro is a win-win for both sides because I do think they just need a little bit of a defender because they just have a lot of guys that want to score. They needed somebody that can just play their role. But they're just in this situation where I'm like, man, I like Noah Essengay a little bit. I thought they could have went a different direction there. Like, he's such a project. And I feel like you kind of already tapped into Matas, who was also kind of a project. Like, the Bulls I gave a D.
Yeah.
They're a team that this is exactly what a team looks like when you try to blow it up too late. When you don't get the proper value for Zach LaVine, and I know he was making a ton of money, you don't get the proper value for Vuce or DeMar. Because if you would have just realized this team isn't the same without Lonzo Ball on the court, and with Caruso, like they got Caruso for Giddey straight up, but like you got no first round pick out of Caruso. I know Giddey's good now, but like still, even with that Caruso's value, the people were talking about 2 firsts for Caruso a couple years ago.
Terrible trade at the time. Terrible trade at the time. Hindsight, it's okay, but terrible trade at the time.
And then like Vucevic, he probably gets you nothing right now because like what's the gap between Vuce and Jonas Valanciunas? Probably nothing crazy at this point. Like is the gap that crazy?
Oh shit! I'm right with you, bro. I'm right with you, but when I heard that, my mind went to when Vuce was averaging 24 for Orlando, and I'm just like, oh shit. That's tough, Mooch. That's
But with
tough. You're right,
but
bro.
I still
The
think
Bulls are
in the right
sad.
situation he'd be fine. But I'm gonna give the Bulls a D. Going on to like the Miami Heat, C minus. The I like them getting Kasparis, but I think Kasparis is a work in progress, especially being so young, going to a team where like they could use a point guard right away, but I think they're going to roll with Davion Mitchell, who I like at the one, who's not really more of a playmaker, but he's a stopper. He fits what they want to do just defensively. He seems like a slow guy. But Hero, Bam, you have Norm Powell now, Khalil Ware. You actually have like a center now next to Bam, who Bam could be the four, get a little more going offensively. Norman Powell is like interesting because if he has the year he did last year for this team and averages in the 20s, I'm like, okay, Miami could be like not up there with like Orlando or Atlanta, who we just got done talking about, because I just think those teams have a little bit more. But
Yeah.
like they could be a frisky team. Hero, Bam, Norm could be like something interesting if he has the year he did last year. But like they're young guys, just never they haven't taken the like Jovic, like still don't know what he is. Jaime Jaquez, I feel
No.
like peaked at year one, like because he's an older player, and I feel like this is what Jaime Jaquez you're gonna get. And I feel like they didn't cash in maybe on that value, like the Dame trade or the Durant trade when they were trying to hold on to these guys that have already kind of peaked. It's just like then you got the whole Terry Rozier allegations going on right now. Like it's just a mess, and they still have Wiggins, who man, I'd kill. I'd probably right now if you told me Jonathan Kuminga in a sign and trade for like Wiggins and like a role guy for like Kuminga
Yeah,
and
good
Moody,
luck.
I'd probably talk. I'd probably talk, but like that's probably not happening. But like they could be a frisky team at best because they're Miami. They're the Bulls have held onto their assets for too long and they all lost value. The Heat have looked at assets for too long and the market has passed them by.
I think you could write them in as a play-in game team, but I
Oh, they're
agree.
going to be the
I
ninth
don't.
seed.
I like their players though. Like I think Bam's good, but I feel like Bam is kind of overrated a little bit. I feel like people love his like switchability as a big, and just kind of think that makes him like this OP like big. But like when is he going to become a better offensive player? You know.
Because he
Because
starts
Tyler
making
Hero's a certified.
that 50 M's.
You said, oh yeah, right. Like I think Tyler Hero is valid, and I think Tyler Hero is like a really good guard to have. But I don't know if that's who you want your like lead guard to be. If you have like hopes of making like becoming like a really good team, right? Like I think Tyler Hero could be like the best third option in the NBA, right?
Mm-hmm.
But these past 2 years, he's like been their number one option, and like
That's
you know what
asking
I'm
a
saying?
lot.
Right, like he can do it.
Do
Like, he can go get
you?
you 25, but I don't know. And then why like Kasparis was a good pick. I was excited when they did that, but like why didn't they just draft Nate Clifford? That would have been a way. And then not trade draft Nate
Nick
Clifford and then
Clifford
don't make a
screamed
move for
Miami
Norman
Heat too.
Powell. Yeah, and then don't make a move for Norman Powell. And then even though that was actually a good move for them, they didn't really have to. They gave up like Kevin Love but still like
It
Nate
was
Clifford
part of
would
the
have been
Collins
perfect.
trade. It was part of the John
Yeah,
Collins
right.
trade, I think.
Yeah, they kind of came out. They kind of came out like really good in that. They didn't have to give up much. They just moved off Kevin Love, right? Who else? What
If
else did they move? It
it
was a
was like
three-team trade.
It was like Duncan Robinson getting waived was part of it, or like
Oh
them
yeah.
buying. It was like some weird
Either way,
The
I would have liked them to get Nate Clifford.
Yeah, I do like Khalil Ware. I think he has a ton of upside, especially next to Bam. But Bam making what he's
The
making
beast.
now, he's about to be stepping into $50 million of dollars the next couple of years with the extension. Don't know how I love that, but if he can get a consistent, maybe not like Miles Turner, Karl Anthony Towns level, of course, but like if he can be respectable from three, then I think that's going to open up his game a
Yeah.
ton. But that's yet to be seen. I will say, because you brought up the Tyler Hero discussion, and I know Lakers fans would argue this because I remember in the chat we argued this. I think if you switched be the third option next year on a team, and you switched Austin Reeves and Tyler Hero, I think the Lakers would be a top end team out west. I think Tyler Hero is better than Austin Reeves, and
He
I
is
think
better
there's
than Reeves, but I don't think it.
they
I don't.
similar players, but I think Tyler Hero is just. I think he is less likely to get played off the court in a series compared to Austin Reeves.
I
just think Tyler Hero is just more. He has more ability as a defender next to. I was just comparing it just to see what Lakers fans would say.
I just don't think he can get downhill like Reeves can. That's my only question with Hero. Like Reeves is such a good but he's a better scorer than Reeves. Maybe I don't. That's a tough one because I just saw Reeves play some insane basketball. I think I just like them where they are because Reeves is such a Laker, even though Hero would be such a Laker too if he was there.
Yeah.
That's a good. I think you're right though. I think they'd be better with Hero. I think so. I just think the Lakers just don't need a guy like that next to Luka, anyways, right now. So it's just kind of tough to Luka and Brian, anyways, right now. So it's just kind of tough for me to even imagine it. Let's say after LeBron retires, who would I rather be? Like in the backcourt with Luka, then I'd probably say Tyler Hero. But yeah, that's an interesting one.
So you have the next. So you have 11 and 12 seeds out east.
Do I have Toronto next?
Yeah.
Okay. The Toronto Raptors, to me, I don't want to talk about the Raptors ever, but they're such like an interesting team right now because there's some people who believe that they're like a real threat to be like a top 6 seed in the East, which they very well might be because that's just a team that has a bunch of good basketball players. My only thing with them, I think Colin Murray-Boyles was a great prospect. I didn't want them to. Why didn't they take Maluach? I feel like maybe not even Maluach. I think they should have taken Maluach, but that just would have made a lot more sense to me. I like the Elijah Martin pickup though in the second round. I think they already have like enough guys, so he might not get to play. But I do think that he kind of will be an NBA player, so we'll see. My whole thing with them is it's like, is Ochai, Abaji, and Grady Dick about to just like barely play off the bench? Like, what is the fit like with Bi and Scotty? Like, if everything goes right with the guys they got, yes, I think they are a top 6 seed. I don't know. I just feel like I wanted them to have a better offseason with the landscape of the East right now because there were people already believing that they can be a good team. So, like, I wish they kind of took initiative like Orlando did and like Atlanta did that we keep bringing up. But they also did make a big deadline move, which was surprising at the time, getting Brandon Ingram. But, like, let's say they didn't make that move and then now they made the move for Brandon Ingram. Because of the landscape of these, we're probably a lot more excited about it. We just haven't seen Brandon Ingram play basketball since the start of last year, so it's like we almost forget that they have Brandon Ingram.
And they
like,
got
how
him for
good
nothing.
is he going to be? Right. Like, what if
Kelly
Brandon Ingram
Olynyk,
comes
Bruce
back?
Brown? Like,
yeah. What if Brandon Ingram comes back playing like elite basketball? And like, what if Scotty Barnes? You know, I feel like he's kind of almost getting underrated right now because he was an all-star 2 years ago and then was kind of just like the same player this past year. Like, what if he now just has like another delayed leap that he still had in him that we all thought he was going to have? Like, what if Scotty takes another leap, right? Like, it's easier to doubt the Raptors than it is to like say like, okay, well, what if these things do go right? So I gave them a C+, but I still think that if some things go right for them, this will be an interesting year because they could be a legitimate like, you know, like I would guess their line is low 40s for wins. I think they can get that. They can at least surpass that.
Yeah, because you gotta think Emmanuel quickly hurt a lot of last year. RJ Barrett was really solid for them last year, efficiency wise, from his standards in his career. You didn't have Bi when you traded for him, and then like Scotty Barnes is still there, and you bring back Jakob Poeltl. I would have liked to come on. I thought that was maybe that pick just made too much sense and for everybody, so they went in a different direction, I guess. But
I just love Jakob Poeltl so much.
Yeah. And then like Colin Murray-Boyles, if you're gonna have anybody off that bench, I'm glad it's a 6'8", 6'9" wing that can just guard. Those are always a dime a dozen. Everybody wants somebody like them to come off the bench. So I'm like, offensively, who knows what he's going to be at the NBA level, but we know he can guard and rebound for sure.
Right.
It really comes down if Scotty Barnes takes that leap and they get a healthy year out of that kind of top 4. who knows what they do with RJ Barrett? I know they were kind of linked to wanting to move him, but if they can get a healthy season out of that top 4 in a weaker East, I mean, they have some talent. Because Scotty Barnes can be a matchup nightmare for teams because he can go guard your best player and he can go run the point, run the show at the 1, and he can kind of give you a matchup nightmare. And like you said, Brandon Ingram, one of the most underrated guys in the league, like if he, like, you got Barnes that can give you, like, I think Scotty Barnes is best utilized as a Swiss Army knife guy. He can obviously go get you one when needed, but if he can get 18, 7, and 7 or high assist numbers, and he's feeding RJ Barrett on the wing and Emmanuel Quickly, more so who I like off the ball, kind of in that New York Knicks kind of role where he was in, like, and he's just looking to get his, and then you can have a sneakily high-powered offense with like 3-4 guys that can go get you 20 at any given night. Like, and then you have Jakob Poeltl, who's a serviceable big, and you have a little bit of a deep bench, some question marks like Grady Dick, who did show me a lot more than what I thought he was going to be last year. But we talked about, what are we've talked about this kind of with teams is like, what is he going to look like when those lights turn on? You know what I mean? Like, what's gonna be the vibe there? But Toronto, interesting team for sure. Very interesting.
They're not in a bad spot. Yeah, no. I think it was the Brooklyn Nets, or is it? Yeah, because Philly was 13th last year. So right, I'll go Nets. Man, if you would ask me, whatever now, like about a month ago, how I feel about this Brooklyn Nets team, I would have been ecstatic. I would have been like, man, all these picks, they might trade them, they might keep them and just have a crazy haul. They might trade him for a crazy haul, and here I am looking at. I should have gave this a worse grade, but I gave him a D+ because I'm not gonna let Summer League drive me too crazy. I didn't like the picks either, but I also feel like when you have 5 rookies coming on your team, that still is something to be said. So I'll just say their additions because there's so many. They lose Cam Johnson and D'Lo, and then there's other guys. That's the notable ones. And then they add Igor Demon, Terrence Mann, Michael Porter Jr., Drake Powell, Ben Seraph, Nolan Traore, and Danny Wolf. So, like, the only reason this isn't an F to me is just, like, what if we're all fucking wrong and one of them becomes a good, like, sure. And then I trust their coach. I trust Jordy. I think their GM is honestly, until the draft night, I thought he had been doing a really good GM job. And I think Cam is better than MPJ. We talked about that in the Western Conference episode a lot, but I'm not mad at that trade at all. I just wish they did it earlier. We said that already. But, yeah, I'm not too happy, though, about Brooklyn. It's not even any of the players themselves. It's the fact that they took Igor
3 guards that can't shoot.
Yeah, like people were mad about Igor at 8. Like, I wasn't even too mad. I didn't love it, but like, okay, if you do that, then get something else. Like, they passed on Nate Clifford 3 fucking times, I think. Like, maybe twice, but that's kind of my whole thing. Yeah, 3. I don't know. I know Nate Clifford's a little older. I know they passed on Kasparis too. They passed on Asa Noel a couple times. Like, they're just gonna get fucking burnt up about this draft class for a while if they stay bad.
But like you said, if one of them hits, I have really no thoughts about the Nets because I could be completely wrong in like 12 months from now. And Igor Demon is like this 6'8", 6'9" demon. Like, yeah, but I don't think like he could be like this. Like Danny Wolf could all of a sudden be Sabonis 2.0 some way somehow, like in the right system.
That was the only pick I liked on draft night.
I liked it because I was sitting here. I'm like, Danny Wolf slides to this second round. I'm looking at because I'm starting to like back half of the draft. I'm like, all right, who do I like for like Golden State? Because we had a second. I'm like, fuck. I'm like Danny Wolf with some size and some playmaking. I would have been like, that would have. I would have been like, okay,
that would have been perfect.
Yes, next to Draymond too.
Yeah, bro. He would have learned how to pass like a warrior. He would have learned that whole system so easily. That would have been tough.
But he goes to Brooklyn. I like Jordy as a coach. That's why I'm going to give it same grade as you. I agree with your grade. I like Jordy. Give him benefit of the doubt. Let me see first 4 months of League Pass Nets basketball with these 5 rookies, and let me see what happens.
Right.
And then
you go up with Philly.
And then Philly. Kind of this back half of the East are 3 quick teams because Philly, I gave them a B. Another thing I really liked or disliked, because I feel like they're still waiting to see all their offseason additions from a year before this still work out and pan out. Love VJ Edgecombe. I think he's going to be a seamless fit.
Good pick.
I think he's going to fit perfectly next to Maxey and McCain. I think McCain is still that guy. Maybe because he was scorching hot in his rookie year, and he was going to win Rookie of the Year before he got hurt. But interested to see his fit next to Maxey, and because two undersized guards, that the narrative around that in the league isn't the greatest, but they have so much. Like when you talk about Maxey, who's 22 to like 28 per game score when he gets the reps and the touches. Does he benefit for playing with Joel Embiid for sure? Yeah. So like him next to Embiid is way more efficient of a player. And if you have, I think it's crazy, but like I think Paul George is going to have a weight. Not saying he's going to be back to like 20 upper, but if he's better than he was last year, I think you're in a really good spot because you added VJ. If you get Joel Embiid, like I said, if you get Joel Embiid healthy in the East this year, regular season wise, Philly's going to be a top 5 team, easily.
Embiid is insane.
That's the only thing. Yeah, that's the only thing I got to say about Philly. If Joel Embiid is healthy, knock on wood,
all I got is a healthy Embiid is just a joke of how good he is. Like it is a joke. Like it is so easy for him. Like he's that good. He's a top 5 player in the league when he's healthy. So yeah, I'm with you. Just need him healthy.
Yeah,
and BJ, good pick. Yeah, made perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. So that's all I gotta say is like they get a solid year from Paul George, bounce back, and Joel Embiid. Yeah, God, they back-to-back VJ and Jared McCain back-to-back drafts is pretty nice, and especially Jared McCain in that teens part where there's always a lot going on in the teens. Like and I know a lot of people had a lot of question marks about Jared McCain, like at the NBA level because of his size, but he's so skilled to where like sometimes you just gotta take skill with that shooting ability and know it's gonna work out.
Kobe Bryant wasn't picked as high as Jared McCain from last year, but I think he might kind of come out as that rookie this year, like how Jared McCain did last year. Like I know he was a second-round pick. Yeah, like I think he might just be like off the bench, giving the Suns like 10 a game off rip, and people will be like, "Oh shit!" Like I know Jared McCain was actually like producing even more than that, but that's just kind of like just whenever you got a guy who can shoot, whenever you got a guy who can shoot at a world-class level, I think you can't overlook that, and you just should draft him.
Yeah.
So when we're NBA GMs, don't forget that I said that. Nah, just kidding. Yeah.
And then we're on the last 2 teams.
Okay.
You have Charlotte.
Quick with Charlotte. I gave him a B+. I think Con was a great pick. Shot at them Summer League champs. Liam McNeely, Con Kniffel, Colin Sexton, got Mason Plumlee, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Zion James, got Pat Connaughton. From there, did they get Spencer Dinwiddie too? They have like 1 million guards on the roster. And then all they lost was Mark Williams, which is bound to happen anyways. And I think just bringing in Kalkbrenner will be fine. I'm a little concerned because they still have Diamante.
Yeah,
Diamante is good center. I'm concerned about him. Yeah. I still think he could be good, but Charlotte B+. I mean, they brought good players in there. But like, at what point is it just like, dude, you guys have been bringing in good players? Like Brandon Miller was a good pick to me. Like you have LaMelo. I just think like they need the LaMelo, Con, and Brandon Miller 1, 2, 3 to just fucking work finally. That just has to be it. That has to work. I mean, all 3 of you can shoot. All 3 of you have a little bit of. Brandon Miller has 0 playmaking. Con and LaMelo obviously does, and Con is just good at everything. So I just think that it's about time that they just start being good, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter. Like you have to have a fucking good offseason every year. You're the Charlotte Hornets. Like you guys are poverty. I would hope you had at least a B+, and you did. You won the Summer League championship. Congratulations.
On God. But I agree. If they just need a year where LaMelo Ball stays healthy and they see what it is with him, Miller, Con. Obviously, I think Liam McNeely, incredible value for where he was, and for like him to get hurt and like UConn to go on to such high of highs, and like his year where he would go to the league like they didn't make the big all-time run like that because they got a tough draw because they played Florida in the second in this round of 32. So like they had a tough ass draw and they gave Florida a game too. And like Liam McNeely, like if you would have said, yeah, the Charlotte Hornets just got Liam McNeely at the back end last couple picks of the first round of the draft, you'd been like, oh, so he got hurt at some point, which he did, and that kind of tanked his value, which I'm up and down on Liam McNeely, but to get somebody that was ranked that high, it's like a Cam Whitmore situation to where like, oh, something else had to happen for GMs to pass up on him, but you were the team that could be the team that like said, no, we're going to stay our ground. We're going to take this guy and we're going to hope it works out. So I think they got good value, and Khan's going to be just the most ideal NBA role player like ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
he's really good.
Yeah. And then I can wrap it up with the Wizards, which I'm going to give it an A. For the Wizards, like actually looking at their roster, they have a lot going on, kind of like Utah and Charlotte and everything else like that. They might not have the talent of somebody like LaMelo Ball or Brandon Miller right now, who we'll see Alex Sarr in year 2, but like they just have a lot of good guys that I think are going to work out in the league. Like they got Will Riley over there now. They waived Marcus Smart to add some more room for Trey Johnson. They also traded for AJ Johnson. Like he was solid for them in the back half of last year. Like they just have a lot of young talent over there. And then they have a good mix of like CJ McCollum for if he's even around past the deadline is just a good vet to have. Chris Middleton, they're both on 1 year. So they're going to have all this cap next year. And it's Washington. I'm not going to say they're going to go out and get fucking Luka Doncic, who didn't say like whatever. But like they're going to have a ton of money to go take on and overpay. Maybe they're a team that I could see like getting some restricted free agents next year because they have so much money with the second apron. They're a team that could like maybe get lucky and get bailed out because the team doesn't want to pay somebody, and like they can get lucked out with somebody because they have so much money. But like Trey Johnson, that's a bucket in the NBA. That's a bucket getter. You pair him with Sarr. They have Keyshawn George still, Will Riley, Bob Carrington. Like you still have Corey Kispert over there, who I hope he gets moved to a contender. But like they are in a good spot. And then they're going to – because Washington, I looked at it, doesn't have the biggest, like, pool of draft capital like you think they would. So, like, if they're able to net maybe a first from the expiring of CJ McCollum or Chris Middleton at the deadline, I love when teams do this, just take on the bad contract, be like half a year, say Chris Middleton goes out, recoups some value, like in the first half of the season, and then he gets moved to a team for a first that's desperate at the deadline. Somebody gets hurt. Same with CJ. Like, these guys – I love when teams take on these bigger – bad quote unquote contracts because these guys got hurt or bad situation, and then they end up able to flip these guys for assets. Like it's just, I just love when teams do that. But I'm gonna give it an A because I think they're finally turning the corner from tanking to where I'm like, okay, now it's time to like start putting this roster together. Now they have 2, 3, 4 really good solid players. I didn't even bring up Bilal Coulibaly. Now, do I like the Deni Avdija trade? No, because you add Deni Avdija, I'm not saying he develops the same like he did in Portland to what he is now, but like you add Denny to the team, I'm like, okay, now we're kind of cooking something up a little bit. But I'm gonna give it an A. I like the direction. Yeah.
I think the only thing I'll say about them, I will say it was a little bit concerning to me that they had a lot of guys who were going to play minutes for them that just like weren't showing me in summer league what I wanted them to. Like it was weird how they got blown out. But it is just summer league, so it's not a big deal. And I am with you. Like Kaishan I really am high on him. I'm really high on Bub. Bub was my favorite player out of last draft outside of like Reese Shea. I really like Reese Shea. I know he's number 1 pick, but I was like really high on him. I still am. Bub was like my second. So he struggled in summer league. I wanted him to be better. Kaishan didn't really struggle in summer league. Was maybe a little inefficient or whatever. Trey Johnson might be their leading scorer as a rookie this year, and that's okay right now because they're not going to win anyways. But no, yeah, I'm excited for the Wizards. I'm not going to overlook I'm not going to look too deep into a summer league run. But yeah, they're an exciting team. I'll watch them. That's an exciting young team that, might be fun because of some of the names they got.
But yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of all I had for the Wizards, but
yeah,
that is the full, if you haven't been tapped in NBA offseason, this is the full 2-part catch you up on this NBA offseason as a whole in general. But I don't really have too much to add. A lot of ball talked in these past 2 episodes on both conferences than just the NBA in general. Now we're going to go into that dead point. Then NFL is going to wrap back around, and then NBA is going to sneak right up on us. But you want to wrap it up there?
Real quick. Did you see they just dropped the first and second all summer league teams? Did you see that? We got Neat Clifford, Phil Pawski, David Jones-Garcia, Jordan Miller, and Terrence Shannon Jr. for the first team. And our second team is Ron Holland, Isaac Jones from the Kings, Con Knipple, AJ Mitchell, and KJ Simpson. So there you go.
God, Ron Holland. I didn't even bring Ron Holland up in my Pistons talk.
True.
He's another name.
We should have mentioned that with Detroit. We definitely forgot about him because he's that's a top 5 pick. But
yeah.
Hey man, I appreciate you having me on. Talk some ball, man.
Of course. We'll definitely have you on in the future for sure.
Yes, sir, man.
A lot more ball to be talked in the future, but we can wrap it up there. Thank you guys for tuning into the Barrel Talk podcast. Hope you tune in to future episodes.